What is reality? Obviously, no one can say because it isn't words. It isn't material, that's just an idea. Reality is... cannot be explained in words.
Yo, welcome to episode 8 of ReallyThoPodcast, where we are searching for what's really real. Yeah. I'm your co-host, Jason Soto, aka Cookbook. And who are you, bro? Who the fuck are you?
I'm Nesto, your other co-host.
And we're searching for what's really real, which means we want to find as many truths about the planet as we can, about ourselves. As we can about the universe. You name it. You know what I'm saying? And every week we come here telling you we are not experts. All we are is two dudes exploring topics. But what we are is two passionate ass dudes with highly opinionated, passionate dudes. So although we don't claim to know everything, we definitely have our what we believe and what we feel, and based on our experiences and what we feel has been presented to us, we believe some things.
Right.
Who knows what that is? We're going to explore that as we always do. But before we do that, I want you to know that this podcast is a conversation between not only Nesto and I, but all of you listeners. So we want you to email questions, comments, rebuttals, tongue lashings, anger, hate mail, whatever you want to email us. We don't even care. The email address is ReallyThoPodcast@gmail.com. Again, ReallyThoPodcast@gmail.com. And that will be in the description of this podcast too, so you can just click on it after you listen to this. After we make you mad at our opinions, angry if we disparage any part of your belief system, then you email us and you talk your shit to us. And we promise we're not gonna get mad.
No.
We don't promise that we won't challenge you as you're challenging us. But any good or any worthwhile belief system, I believe, should want to be challenged, should welcome challenge.
Yeah.
And should be able to withstand challenge and inquiry. And if it doesn't, then that's when the person who holds that belief needs to evaluate that belief and see if it's still worthy of holding on to. So that's what we're about. So email us, man. I know a lot of people feel very strong about their belief systems or their faith, as they like to call it, or whatever religion, or I'm with that. We treat this podcast and our viewpoints now the same way we treated Christianity. We were not the type of dudes that was like trying to diss people or preach hell and brimstone and curse people and look down on people. And why would we start being that way now? We're not. We're just two dudes exploring shit. So ReallyThoPodcast@gmail.com. Also in the description box is a link to our merch store. We got that hot ass merch. And if you're watching us on YouTube, because I think this is the OG Really Though logo right here. This is when I was all by myself doing interviews with people, and Really Though was a completely different show. Not completely, but kind of.
What was it before?
It was more about like mind state and like principles of success and things like that, and exploring, how to. So, and I did it through the lens of musicians like myself. I would share stories of things that made me successful, and then interview people that I know from the industry who were successful as well. So it was very different. But the name Really Though, which seen as it's a question, it's not a statement. Like, really though? It felt right for this podcast too, because it's like a challenging statement. Like, you tell me something like aliens abducted me and shot a thing up my butt and did a rectal exam on me. I can say, really? You know what I'm saying? Or I saw 16 demons came and they shove something up my butt or whatever. And I could say, really no, really no. Or you could say like there's one priest who shoves something up your butt, and I'll say, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Right.
I'm just kidding.
Really.
Catholics, I'm just
Really
kidding.
though.
No, that's when we say,
Man.
that's when we say, really though.
Yeah.
Although I joke, I don't take those sort of things lightly. But anyway,
No.
the link in the
Sure.
description box will click you through to our merch store. We kept the OG logos like the one I'm wearing today, but we have the brand new logo, which says Really Though, searching for what's really real, which is the theme of this podcast as well as the name. And so if you want to support the show, if you love what we're doing, that is a dope way to support by buying a t-shirt, because it gives us money, obviously. And also you're out representing. So people say, hey, what's that? That's a cool podcast I listen to. Another great way, really important way that you can help us to promote the podcast and to get the word out is to just share the podcast with your people, families, your pastors, your rabbi. Give it to your rabbi. I'm down. Whoever, man.
Yeah.
Give it to your ministers, your deacons, your old grandma. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Grandma's hands clapped in church on Sunday morning. You want to talk to her too? She can email us. I'll go with that. Share the show with your people on your social media, on any, Facebook, wherever. You can find us on Facebook, by the way. You just look for Really Though Podcast and you will find us and like our page as well. But it really is important if you share the podcast in any capacity that you can. Text the link to people, post it on social media. And the next thing you can do, of course, is give us a 5-star rating. Even if you hate the podcast, give us 5 stars for just making you mad, at least. How about that? You know what I'm saying? We make you mad. You give us 5 stars for that, and then write whatever, stupid ass name. And I'll agree with you. I'll say you're right. We like Nesto, but we don't fuck with Jason. Whatever you want.
Nah, that's not gonna happen.
It's all good. You could write it. They could write it. I'm not gonna be mad about it. I promise. You could write, as some may have written, that you don't like the way I rap, and that's cool too.
Oh, dude, come on.
I'm off that. I'm just picking up people, but really, I appreciate any rating, but really a 5-star at least 4 stars. I mean, it's not gonna hurt you to rate it 5 stars, man.
No,
really.
That would be fantastic.
So anyway, those are ways you can help us. Email us. All that stuff will be in the description of the podcast. And you should be able to find us everywhere that podcasts are being listened to, including YouTube. So he's a YouTubeaholic. Are you going to be posting these?
Yes.
As well as, Nesto's been doing a great job posting our brother podcast, which is Felipe's Garage. We have some hot YouTube episodes. But if you're not listening to Felipe's Garage, please subscribe to Felipe's Garage. We wild out. We don't get so serious over there. Sometimes we do. Sometimes it gets real serious. Right?
Because the times are serious.
Yeah. I mean, when you're in COVID-19, it's hard not to be serious. So, but we do have a lot of fun over there. We talk nerd shit. We talk Marvel, DC, Star Wars, we talk all kinds of TV shows, pop culture shit.
Yeah.
So check that out, man. It's with our homeboys, King Doctor and the other homie, E Green. And E Green is a part of our other brother podcast. We have an other brother. And that podcast is called the Hip Hop Digest Show. Make sure you subscribe to that. And that is exactly what you think it is. All hip hop, all the time.
All hip hop.
You know what I'm saying? And they cover the gambit of old to the new. So it's a very, it's a good podcast. Anyway, next up, what are we here to talk about today, man? What you want to talk about?
Bro. Dude, there's so much.
Yeah, so what we were talking about earlier was, I called it a state of the union kind of.
Yeah.
So if they've been listening, they're 7 episodes deep, and this is the 8th episode.
Jeez.
And
have we lost them? You think
we might have lost them because we dropped 6 episodes in 2 weeks. They're like, what the is going on?
I know.
You heard our stories. You heard 3 episodes of Nesto's story. At the end, he's crying like a little baby at the end of it. That's all right.
I'm sure.
Talking about friendship and some other bullshit. I don't know. Soft ass shit. Anyway, no, it was good. So we got to really know Nesto's story, and then 3 episodes where you heard my story. And like I said, a lot of people have heard the music parts of my story all over the place, but this particular part, nobody has heard publicly. So you got to know us, of who we were and what we used to believe.
Yeah.
And so we thought today we should do one more like establishing podcast. And the reason why I call it State of the Union is because now we're going to just kind of state for you guys where we stand today, what we feel today, where our beliefs lie. You know, we can't get into it all. We're going to do sort of broad strokes. And then from here, we're going to jump off into specific topics where we'll dive deeper into each one, especially as you guys start emailing us. We're going to address those. And eventually, like we talked about, we're going to have all kinds of guests on from all kinds of walks of life, different religions, different viewpoints. So we can ponder, so we can discuss, so we can explore. But today we're going to do some broad stroking and just talk about what we feel. So I'll start with this, and then I'm going to toss it to you, Nesto.
Okay.
Growing up, I was what you would call indoctrinated into my religion. And basically what that means is your whole life is basically flooded and consumed with this belief system where you don't really know anything different. Even when you see it outside in the world, your mind has been completely enveloped in a belief system. That's the way I grew up, you know? And so I grew up in the Christian church, Christian school, never went to public school, always went to Christian. So everything around me was Bible, God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, 10 Commandments, rules, this, that, you know, blah, 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 all those things. It wasn't, I don't have really horror stories per se from my childhood, but looking back, I definitely wasn't like given a choice, let's say, as to what I would want to believe for myself. Right? It wasn't like I was presented like, okay, here's Catholicism, here's Christianity, here's Islam, here, blah, blah, blah. And this is what they all believe. What do you think? You know? And I don't blame my parents at all. It's a natural thing. Like, it's the same way you grow up. Like, people, let's say people grow up on a farm. Like, my dad was a farmer. His dad was a farmer. It's the family. Yeah. We don't even live near a city. So I don't have the option of like, whatever. A lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times, guess what those people become in life? Farmers. Feel what I'm saying? Then they get on farmersonly.com. And they're, you know, wife or husband. Or whatever, you know what I mean?
That's true, though.
So it is true. And they keep it farm, yo. We're going all farm all day. We keep it farm up in here, right? Farmers only, right? That's what they do.
Yeah.
It's no different than growing up, being totally indoctrinated. I go to Christian school, and had I continued, I would have maybe gone to a Christian college, maybe seminary, who knows what I would have gone. And I probably would have gone on Christian Mingle. Or, you know, in the church, whatever. Just, you go through what you go through. And then what I've shared it, you know, in the last 3 episodes of mine is that the more I started thinking about things on my own, the more I had my own genuine questions that never sprang up before because there was never really an opportunity. Everything was church, everything was God, everything was whatever. And even though I knew whatever was going on in the world, quote unquote, to me, when I saw it, it was like, yeah, you know, I'm cool with those people. And I kind of hide my Christianity. Wasn't really out with my Christianity until I was much older, like in my high school days, like senior in high school, shit like that. But I also felt like, well, but I know I'm going to heaven because of my beliefs, and hopefully they adopt those beliefs. But I never considered maybe I'm wrong. Do you know what I mean? Because there was no reason. Yeah. All I knew was this. My parents are this. My family's this. It's all I knew. I think there's a movie, there's an OG like Christian movie. I think it's called Duke of Earl, like Duke, Duke of Earl. My cousins are in it. Like my cousins from up north, yeah. My cousin Ephraim and like some other people, I think they started, like, so saying all that to say, it's a lot of Christianity. It was all around. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so the reason why I'm setting this up like this is because when I go into what I believe now, it's drastically different. And I've sort of shared how I got to that. But I just wanted to set that stage because I want people to understand that I didn't come to the things that I believe in lightly. It wasn't like I'm rebelling against. And what I fear from your story, from my story, as we told our stories, which was truth, what actually happened to us, what I was worried about, not worried, because people can believe whatever they want, but most people, especially religious people, oftentimes when they're confronted with a viewpoint such as mine, they go to the church hurt bucket. Oh, well, you were hurt by the church, so that's why you're rejecting it. Or, I for sure had been through many levels of church hurt in just about every church I ever went to. But I also experienced like girl hurt, wanting to go for girls either. Relationship hurt, I still want a relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a little insulting to try to diminish what we feel now. Oh, well, you're just hurt by church. Yeah. You just got hurt at church. Some church must have hurt you, or some pastor hurt your feelings or something.
Right.
So it's a little like fucked up to say that. You know what I mean? That's how I feel.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't do that. It's like saying to you, oh, you believe that Christian stuff? I guess you're just kind of weak-minded. Like, I get it. You're not like, dude, that's like,
there's people that say that. Yeah.
Yeah. There's like doctors and freaking super smart businessmen and blah, blah, blah. I would never say that. You know what I mean? My own mother has said that to about me, not to me, unfortunately. I wish she would say it to me. But she said that about me. She said, oh, he just got burned by that church, and that's why he's acting like this. When I've clearly had conversations with her and expressed how I feel and how I came to feel these things I feel. You know what I mean? So I'm setting the stage here, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Nessa, because I know I've been talking a lot.
Yeah.
No,
bro.
Yeah. I want people to understand that because I want them to understand where we're coming from when we say this.
Yeah.
And because we have been just about every level and every aspect of church that you can be in. Yeah. We also are smart enough and experienced enough to navigate our own feelings between, oh, we got burned by church, or we feel this way about church. And this is, started before my big church hurt stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Nesto, you got anything to add to this? I mean, what do you feel?
Well, no, I think God, there's so much.
I know.
There's a quote that I put in a script that I wrote a long time ago, and there was a discussion between two characters, and it was almost like the moment was almost like that scene in Empire Strikes Back where Luke was with Yoda, and kind of like that dynamic where Yoda was explaining to Luke, the reason you're failing is because you don't believe, right? Remember that whole discussion,
of course.
Right? And so I had this scene that I had where I had this one character who was being told something that was just wild ass information, and he just goes, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. And the other character said, believing something doesn't make it real. It only makes it real to you. If something is real, it doesn't need your faith for it to exist. And I wrote that long time ago. And since then, I've been like, oh my God, dude, like pondering it in different other situations. And for this, to me, it really drives home because one of the biggest support systems I felt like I had in my faith was we were right. I mean, we're right.
Yeah.
Like, when the question would come up, yeah, but what about the Muslims? What about terrorists?
What about them?
They're
I mean,
right.
yeah.
And they, exactly.
No,
you're going,
they're wrong. Yeah.
They're wrong. They're clearly deceived. It's like, wait a minute. We had all the justification with why we're right and everybody was wrong, but always without checking what everybody believes. I never did that.
Yeah.
I didn't look into Muslim religion or what they believe. And when it came down to like, it was always the extreme, Satanists, devil worshippers, it was like, that's the ones that were really like, whoa. And when it came to Catholics and everything, it was kind of like loose, like, well, they just don't have all the information and, they just follow after. It was always like these little excuses to still one up on everybody, right?
Yeah.
But never with sitting down with somebody and going, where are you coming from? Why do you believe this?
Mm-hmm.
And when I finally started back in, was when I was like youth pastoring up in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Because you start talking to these kids that ain't about all that just bullshit. Like they got questions, they'll call you out on stuff. And then if you're not real with it, exactly. Like you can't just play it off like, just listen to me. I mean, that's not how I was anyway.
Yeah.
So when I would get these questions, dude, it made me start digging and they're really thinking like, man, everyone believes they're right. But the issue is nobody is getting evidence that they are completely wrong and one way is right. Everybody's able to have their own little pockets of belief and survive. I could not understand how that was possible. It was just one way. So then, of course, if we go Bible, you go into, well, they're deceived. It's like blind leaders and blind followers following the blind leaders. So then it's like, okay, that explains it. Because I know that that's real in real life. There are people that are out there deceiving a lot of other people and people follow them at so many different levels.
Yeah.
But the thing is, what I couldn't get over that took me a long time is whatever I believe, it becomes real to me. Not because it's real. It's because of my faith in it makes it real. It's just like the Santa Claus thing. When I believed in Santa Claus, that shit was real to me. Right. If you question me about it, that's what I'm going to respond is, oh yeah, he does this and this is what. But then when I get to a point where I don't believe it, then I'm not in that category anymore. Right. Then I can look at other people that believe it and be like, oh, they still believe it.
Right.
Oh man, I get it. Why?
It feels like that's a good way to empathize with people of different beliefs too. Because sometimes you can clear, like a kid who believes in Santa. That's the best one because everyone's going to universally agree with that.
Yeah.
It's like you can look at a kid and say, that's so cute. That's so sweet. He's still believing it. But you can objectively look at it and say, I used to believe that too, but now that facts and evidence have come to light, I know that's not true. But I'm not going to be like this fucking stupid ass kid. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? You're not going to do that. You're going to have empathy and like, oh, that's, that's part of growing up, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not saying that like when you look at people, other beliefs in gods or whatever, that we're going to go like, oh, look how cute that is. They're little, like, we're not patronizing people. You know what I mean? No. We're coming from a place of understanding. That's all I just want to add to.
Right. That's now.
Yeah.
Now, a while back, I mean, I've been through different levels of it because I feel like when I came out of a certain portion of it, I was angry, dude. I'm a passionate guy, so
of course.
I respond passionate first before back then, I'm trying to mellow out now and just be more balanced, but
no, bro,
I used to get like, dude, I got so pissed, man. And I was more so attacking ministry back in the day for lying to us, for robbing from people, from hiding secrets that were even in the Bible. Like I had all those different issues. And then I got to a point where I got mad at God because I felt like God's not defending this the way that I feel like God should be because look at what he's allowing to happen. Right. And that was only on, to me, like smaller issues, dude. Not even the bigger stuff like worldwide and global and rapes and murders. Like you start going, like, what? And then you know, people have justification for all these different levels of things, and I know we could have discussions on all of them, and we will soon on different topics of, you know, quote unquote, God allowing stuff and things that happen in the world and who's responsible and who's not and all that stuff. But what it's led to for me is a lot of confusion, bro. I mean, I got to a point where I just really didn't want to call myself anything. Like, I felt okay saying I'm spiritual versus when people say, are you Christian? Are you a Christian? Because initially I would get offended and want to throw it right back at them and go, well, what is Christian? Then I start going Bible on them with all my knowledge about true Christianity and what happened and who wrote the Bible and, you know, all my facts, which is what I tried to like bleed out of my system. When I walked away from all of it, I was like, I'm getting one tattoo. I think I talked about this. Did I?
Yeah, you did. You did.
My tattoo and everything. And that was like the last thing. It was like, let me just try to, if the greatest thing is love, let me just try to hold on to that, because that's legitimate, regardless who wrote it. I don't give a fuck. That I believe in. Yeah. Let me set the Bible down. I've memorized too much for anybody's good. Yeah. I'm done. That's what I did, dude.
I did something similar. Yeah.
I used to hate that I would be in conversations with people almost waiting, like when they'd be talking about their problem or their issue or whatever, I'm waiting for the moment to dive in with scriptures and solutions versus just listening to people, just soaking up, you know, energy and just being there. So so it took years to get that out of my system, right? And that's why, like, even when we talk about this podcast, bro, and like it making me go back to the Bible.
Yeah, I know. It's weird.
It was like, you know, because I remember I feel like that burden that was on me, it wasn't like a freedom type thing, you know. It was a more like, you have to know this to save the world, and everyone's so jacked up and they don't know the truth, and you know, it's all this pressure versus just being like, hey, if you want it, you want it. If you want to know how I feel, here's how I feel. Like I couldn't ever walk around like that. It had to be like, don't you want to live? Everything had to be a mission.
Yeah.
To me, man, you know, we talk about this a lot, especially when it comes to like the possibilities of aliens, how they fit into this. Yeah. Maybe that the descriptions of a lot of things, if you look at in scripture, that's the only words they can put to a description of something, where when we look at it now with our years of understanding and technology, we go, oh, that was a helicopter. Or, oh, what he thought was a dragon, or said fire coming out, two people floating. It's like, doesn't that look like it's a... Dude, there's so many interpretations that to me almost to certain things in scripture, different than how I was like, fuck all of it. Yeah. Now there's parts where I feel like, oh, maybe this is what they thought, but it was really this. The sad part about it, to me, is that no one is stepping up and giving like the true ass answer. You know what I mean? As far as like God, it's all left to like, well, that's inside you. It's your own interpretation. It's well, it's holy men. But if I can go into multiple different groups and I can feel a comfort and a peace and a reassurance of I can hop from group to group to group, then what is truth? It's almost like truth is only what's in that group for you at that time. And every group points its finger at this other one and goes, well, they really don't know it. It's almost like whatever we agree on, in a way.
Yeah. So I think what you're talking about is what a lot of times, you know, whatever belief system, I mean, we come from Christianity, but whatever belief system, they tend to feel that their book or their beliefs, there is the capital T truth, like the truth, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And any deviation from that is rejected. Question it, you can't question it. You don't question it. You don't question the truth with a capital T. That's It wasn't written by man. It wasn't written by us. The Holy One himself brought it down. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, and then we put down every other religion, like you said earlier, and say, well, they're just deceived, right? So I don't know what you define yourself as or where you see yourself as, but the truth is that everybody who holds any type of religious belief on the planet, if they're choosing one belief system and they're not just a weirdo that's like, hey, everything's cool, whatever, which is not a weirdo. I mean, whatever, whatever. I'm just saying most people choose one path, right?
Right.
So they choose one path, then they are actually 99% atheist.
Oh, wow.
They're just one God short of being an atheist.
Right.
Am I wrong?
That's true.
Because if you ask them about, let's say, take Christianity, since that's our main, where we come from. You ask a Christian about Allah, they're going to say, well, that's not real. All that Quran stuff is foolishness. Or if you ask them about Krishna or, all these other gods, Hindu gods or the Greek gods or whatever, they'll laugh at you. Ha ha, that's mythology.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? But then if you say, okay, that's mythology, but a guy used to spit in people's eyes and they would see. Yeah, of course. Well, that was Jesus. So of course that's true. And let's see what else. An
invisible alien made love to a human woman and birthed a child.
Yeah. Well, no, that was God. It was a miracle. So the only time in history that has ever happened, everything that we know about science, about this, but their stories are foolishness. It's like, it's always again, I'm not start off putting anybody's beliefs down per se, but I'm just trying to say that the way I look at things now is different. I definitely was like that.
Yeah.
When you believe that you have the capital T truth, you have an arrogance about yourself. Whether people want to admit it or not, it is very arrogant to say to anybody else, oh, I know where I'm going when I die. You better. And people say it all the time. Am I wrong? Yes, though?
Oh.
Wrong? The most anybody, if they're being intellectually honest, the most they can say is, I believe. I believe that the way I'm living, I'm going to go to a place that I believe exists.
Right.
Nobody knows. You cannot know. You know who knows what happens after you die? My father. You know why? Because he died.
Yeah.
He knows. Yes. We don't know. I don't care how confident you feel.
Right.
People feel confident in things all the time.
That's the big one right there, bro. That you're hitting it right there.
And they feel confident in things that turn out to be false. Not just religions. I'm talking about in life.
Yes.
And so, and people misinterpret things too. People misinterpret, like, I'm trying to think of an example. Like, people misinterpret, like, for example, fellas are known to do this on occasion. They'll maybe be interested in a nice young lady. She's a wonderful, beautiful woman. She's funny. She's kind. And we're like, I'm pretty sure she's vibing me. We try to go in for the kiss or do something. And then they're like, whoa, what are you doing? We're friends. And then you're like, wow, I misread that big time. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're prone to mistakes. We're prone to being wrong. Right. And I think for me, it was, like we talked about this already, it was very freeing for me to be able to just say, I don't know about things. It's cool. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
It's intellectually honest. It's okay. I don't have to know all the things. I don't have to act like. I used to act like I knew everything, or that I had the potential of knowing it all because I had God and the Bible, and it's got to be in there. If it's not in there, it's in one of the 1,000 books written about the book that's supposed to be the ultimate book, but we have a lot of other books to explain the book that's supposed to explain the universe to us. Right. And the book that was written that's supposed to explain the universe to us is written by God, right? But we have men writing other books that we're supposed to read to explain to us what God is trying to say to us in the ultimate book, which is told to us is the only book we need as truth.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm just saying, like, it's cool to say I don't know. It's cool to be like, I don't know everything. Yeah. So when somebody has this capital T truth vision, then they tend to be, what I feel, it's very arrogant to be that way. It's very, they feel confident, but what they really are is arrogant. it's really something to tell somebody too, that they're going to hell or something like that. And I've heard people say this, not everybody. I'm not saying everybody does
Right,
this.
right.
But I've heard enough people do it. I've heard enough people say, oh, these earthquakes happen because of homosexuality or because of this or because of abortion or whatever, are these crazy statements that people make. And I know a lot of even Christian people or religious people wouldn't condone that. But it doesn't change the fact that there's a lot of people that feel this way.
Yeah.
It's very, arrogant. It can be judgmental. It can be a lot of things, right?
Yeah, yeah.
All of those things always bother me about religion. So bringing it back to the State of the Union, all of those things always bother me, even when I was very into it. I didn't like, and I have taken that position before. I can't lie. I have been like, I got what you need. Come through. I got it. You got, oh, your life's messed up? I got that answer.
Yeah.
Now you hurting? Watch how I pray that hurt out of you. Oh, I've definitely been that way, and I've definitely been arrogant. And I've definitely been spiritually conceited, is what I like to call it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm walking around and it's like, if I'm holy, but dude, I'm acting conceited. Like, oh yeah, God's with me. I got the anointing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? These phrases, ways of being. And so, I've been that way. But I feel like as I went along my journey. So, okay, let me start here. Going back to belief. You were talking about beliefs and how you said what you said about beliefs. And I kind of feel like, let's talk about belief for a second. Here's our State of the Union on belief. I think that you don't necessarily choose your beliefs. I think you get presented with information and it either convinces you or it doesn't convince you, and then your beliefs change, right? Like, you didn't decide as a child, I'm going to believe in Santa Claus. You just believe because your parents told you, and when you're a child, you just believe everything they say. You're convinced of it all because that's your frame of reference to the planet. And then as you go on, whatever your frame of reference is starts to mold you and develop and shape your beliefs and your belief systems and all that. I'm open to debate on this. It's just what I feel. I feel like I didn't choose to believe something other than Christianity. I didn't choose that. In fact, I was actively trying to get rid of those questions so that I could maintain my faith in my religion. And I was on a journey for years and years and years, asking questions, trying to get rid of that was coming in my brain, to get rid of the questions and hey, wait a minute, if this is true, then why is this? That kind of thinking that was happening to me. I wasn't asking for that to happen. I wasn't choosing to start believing other things. But as other information was presented to me through people's experiences and them sharing it with me, or through me just seeing stuff on TV or in life and feeling like certain Christian, the response to that, then that causes me to explore different thoughts and why do I feel this way? But the Bible says this. And I didn't choose that. I wasn't going like, you know what, today I think I'm going to believe some new stuff. Now you could decide, I want to believe new stuff, but will you actually believe it? No. If you decide you want to believe new things, you're going to have to develop a new mind state. You can actively develop a new mind state by implanting new thoughts into your brain. And eventually, as you get convinced of the things you're putting in there, you believe it. Does that make sense? It's like you can brainwash yourself, and then you can believe. So, like people who get successful, they believe, I don't care how poor I am, no matter what, I believe that I'm going to be a millionaire or a billionaire or whatever, and even though it's not in front of them, the more they put that thought in their brain, they can actively put the thought in their brain on purpose. And then they start to believe it. And then you act in accordance with your beliefs as well. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like when you were convinced that the Bible was true, Jesus was the way, and Christianity was the only true religion, it informed your actions after that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you start to believe something different, that set of beliefs starts to inform your actions. Do you feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, if you start believing that the church is not a good place, then you stop going to church. Your actions follow. Or vice versa. You start believing that church is a place that becomes a source of your peace or your strength or whatever, then you start going. So I feel like that's kind of what I feel about belief in general. And I really feel like it based on my experience, because I honestly was not trying to get rid of faith and let me be up out of this. That was not my intention ever. It's just something that, as I explored more, I just couldn't, in all honesty, continue to believe the way that I believe.
Right.
So let's do something. Let's just get into brass tacks. Ernest, what do you believe right now, today in 2020, about God? Who he is? Is he real? Is he not real? What do you believe? Again, we're always open to being wrong, being challenged on our
Oh,
beliefs.
yeah.
Speak freely, my brother.
Yeah. I know. That's a difficult one.
We might as well start there, because isn't that what it's all about? It boils down to that.
Yeah. I think a great part of me, I don't think I ever stopped believing that there was a God. I think what happened to me was I started feeling like the God that we've been taught about we believed wrong about him.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a him or, I mean, Jesus always said, God is a spirit. They worship him in spirit and truth. That's like a foundational thing that I think it's blown away, because in our brain, it's like, no, it's a bearded guy up in the sky and he runs the stuff and his son came down, and then got the sidekick who's invisible, the Holy Spirit. It's like what these things look like and are. That's what I think creates a belief. And even though thing that's real side of that belief system, you're not going to believe the right way until you meet the right one the right way somehow, right? And I think people have been coming in contact with this being, but the communication levels have been off or something like that. I mean, that's a part of me. The distance that I feel is because of the not necessarily disappointment as much as like the curtain being pulled to find out, wait a minute, like the Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz, yeah. This
What?
little dude.
And
yeah.
to think
It was
like
a machine.
a whole world was being run by the dictates of this image, this virtual image that wasn't real. And their belief was according to what they saw and heard, and they were moving by that and living their lives according to that. But then when the curtain got pulled, you saw that it was a human man, just like them, operating
like a machine.
A machine, dude. And there's no movie to show how did these fools readjust life after that
like
discovery.
Wizard of Oz
it's
too.
just like, Dorothy goes back, and then it was like, well, it's just a dream. Like, damn, because
but you just dropped like a bomb right there, yo, with the
like
wizard.
the biggest, dude, the biggest in the world. And since there's no bright light, there's no somebody coming down from the heavens and going, okay, guys, here's what's really been going on, right? We're going by what people wrote about a time that happened and was translated and passed down for hundreds and thousands of years or whatever. So like I was saying in the beginning, belief wise, dude, I'm over the place. My biggest belief is in love and the power of love. Okay. God to me is a mystery, and I don't like what we talked about. There's this show called Ancient Aliens, and they get into a lot of history and a lot of things that people have discovered, and a whole like almost subgenre of that, UFO sightings world that's tied into a gang of biblical history that makes it seem like a lot of that is what really was interpreted in Bible history passed down to us, but misinterpreted, and a lot of miscommunication. So if anything, I feel like that's what I believe. And I just believe that there's not solid enough answers to be like, here's what it is. Right. I'm still in a point of, now that we're doing the show, discovering and researching and looking. Right. There was a long period of time where I did not care. I don't care. Is God real? But what about Jesus? It's like, there's too many things I've seen happen and not happen that made me go, now, dude, you can't overlook this. Priests raping little boys and still being able to wear the robe, go in on the Sundays and lead worship, and still rape little boys and then go in and lead a service. That is mind-blowing to me. When someone is able to preach the gospel and rape a child and stay alive. No vengeance, no boils, no getting struck down, no getting hit by a car, which happens to innocent people that haven't done shit but take care of people in their lives. I didn't understand how that's even possible with a God of love who knows everything and can do anything. What's really going on there then? So it makes it hard when I see shit like that to believe in, I started at least going, all right, Christians, let me just give you guys this. Maybe God exists the way we have believed, but maybe God doesn't have the power that we've been saying God has. Maybe God is closer to us, like what we read in Genesis. Let's make man in our image and make them like us and give them the power that we have. Maybe that was actually real. And maybe it's not so mythical and so like, oh my God. Maybe it's like some space alien type shit. And they live on another planet called heaven. It's in another dimension. It's far away. And they check up on us every once in a while, but it's not that Santa Claus in the sky type shit. I don't know.
Yeah. So here, let me jump in on this. I feel you. Everything you're saying, I feel. I think I personally am okay with saying that at this point in my life, I'm okay with saying that. I don't have definitive proof, and I would never say for sure there's no God. I say based on the evidence presented, I don't believe that a God exists.
The Christian God or God in general? Like
a God. Any God.
Not even like how people say the universe. I believe in the universe.
I think God. The universe is just a vibey ass new age way to just say. It's a way to pray without being any religious sect or being, faith. That might be a whole episode. But I'm okay with saying that. And the reason being is because I don't think there is good enough proof, at least none that has been presented to me, that would make me go and say, there's a God, he created us, whatever, especially the Christian God, honestly. Since I mostly have been indoctrinated in that, when I look at that religion, I say, to me, it looks like bullshit. Mm-hmm. And if we're talking about God, and everything you just said made complete sense. And what I would add to that is, if God is real, where is he? He could easily solve all these questions. Hi, I'm God. Here I am. Check this out. Lightning. Awesome, right? Check this out. You want to see me create a sheep? Boom. Wow. Not that he has to prove to us. And I know that most religions, especially Christianity right now, they could be listening and saying, you got to believe in faith. I know, because I lived it. I understand everything that people are going to say. But you have to think about this. Your own book says God is not the author of confusion. Yet, Christianity has how many denominations?
Oh, just one.
Oh, wait.
Just one.
Oh, wait. And what does denomination mean? Division. And if you don't agree, not to mention other religions, you can throw Catholicism as a denomination if you want. All the different religions on the planet, all the different belief systems. And the only contact we ever had that's supposed to be our proof was a man who lived 2,000 years ago when there was not even a printing press, much less an internet or books or cameras or something. He decides to show up on earth as a man to do what he did, like in the shadows, and then just throw it out there. And then thousands of years later, we're expected to just believe this story that is not, it doesn't go really beyond the walls of the Gospels for the most part. A lot of times people want to quote, well, Josephus wrote about Jesus. Great, fine. I don't have a problem believing that. I'm talking about Son of God, Holy Spirit, God coming down in the flesh. None of it, if you break it down, really makes sense. What happens is we have a belief already in our brain, and then we force the reasons to answer that belief instead of allowing the things along the way to shape us towards a different belief. You understand? I was that way. And when I flipped that and said, does this add up to me? It didn't add up to God anymore. It just didn't. When you look at, that alone, God is not the author of confusion. Really? Because you look on the planet, there's a lot.
Dude, in the church, yeah.
People are winging it. People are blowing winds at COVID-19, saying, go away in your name. And by the way, that's not working. So all the things that your book says to do happen. Nothing happens. And all the consequences you say will happen to people if they don't believe, or all of these things, especially Old Testament, it's not happening. So I don't feel like the proof is there. The real evidence is there. And I feel like a time to believe something is when there's evidence to believe in it. Like, I believe you exist because there's evidence of you. I've seen you, I've hugged you, I've shook your hand, I've spent hours with you. I heard this analogy, and this is a good one. Imagine if, well, in a way you can imagine this, Nesto, no disrespect, but imagine if like your parents gave birth to you, right? And then left you wherever, an orphanage with an aunt or something, and just wrote you a note. One note. And the note said, hey, yeah, no, we totally love you. Here's a list of things we want you to do. And we may or may not check in on you. Most likely we're not. But I swear to God, we love you. So make sure you do this list and follow us. And yeah, you'll get some good shit later. But we out. And then they never speak to you again, ever. Yeah. Your whole life. And all you've got is some note that says they love you. Are you going to feel like those parents actually love you?
People will. It's not a normal thing. It doesn't make sense to, but that is the example of what's going on though.
But that's what happened.
Absolutely. I know. But okay, but here's the argument. Here's one of the arguments is, it's like, God, so many different directions with this.
Of course, I know.
You know me, I'm trying not to. So, all of the things that we come up with as a reason that proves, kind of what we believe, people on the other side will say this. You don't know. I have felt him touch me. Right. I have been touched. Mm-hmm. And people that would say that to us would almost assume that we haven't either, which has to be a different episode that we get into what was going on then. Tongues, healing, falling out into the spirit, crying, the power, the energy, all those things.
Yeah.
Some of them we could say people experienced when they saw the Beatles, Michael Jackson.
Right, you just went right where I was going to go.
Elvis, the exact.
Have
maybe
you seen
even
those,
more so?
Those old videos of when the Beatles landed in America and the girls crying hysterically, passing out, wilding out. They did it with freaking Duran Duran. They did it with New Kids on the Block.
And literally, I've seen video where it's like waves of invisible wind energy just blowing, just people passing out. That's how they were affected. So comparatively, okay, but here's one of the biggest things that we'll probably come back to over and over again. And I remember this is what I started feeling later is when, and this goes into so many different categories, bro. When the truth about something is presented and you realize, wow, that's the truth. And it goes against shit that you've believed for so long. It's almost the equivalent of when you're in a relationship and you've got kids and you've been together for years and you find out your spouse is cheating on you or something crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Do you push through it, ignore it, just whatever? Or do you go, I am not settling for that.
Right.
I'm out. You know what I mean? Some people just go, listen, it's too much work starting all over again. Whether they say it or not, that's what they believe inside. And I believe there's so many people that are like that with religion because in their mind, it's like this. Hold on. I have believed this for 45 years. I don't know where to go if this isn't true.
Exactly.
They'll never say it, bro. They'll never say it. But that's what they feel. And I feel like that's a legitimate thing. And
I agree.
And now I'm even at the point where I feel like more power to you. I wish I could go back to believing how I used to because this shit is not fun. I don't like finding out. People may think, especially because of Felipe's Garage Conspiracy Hulk, and I like digging shit and finding things out and blah, blah. Sometimes that's fun. It's cool. But sometimes you come across something that you're like,
I didn't want to.
Dude, the truth is so scary that I want to be a kid again. Erase my memory of that. I'd really rather go back to not knowing that and just be oblivious, man, than to know this and be walking around like, well, what do I do now?
Yeah, I get that. And it's the same reason why I don't talk about these things with my mother. She's old as hell. She's going to believe like, what if I say something that does convince her? It feels almost fucked up, like, and then she dies next year or something. God forbid. But you know what I'm saying? Like, and like, I ruin her little vibe with her little friends at church, and like, not that I would. I'm not being arrogant on this side.
No, I hear
I'm just saying, like, I feel that way too because I think people are comfortable, and I think it's fine as long as it doesn't encroach on other people's lives.
Right.
That's when I have a problem, and it always does. Whether people admit it or not, right now in this country, it's happening all over the place with, the leadership of this country and the decisions that get made based on not religion in general, but on a specific religion could be very detrimental to a lot of groups of people.
Yeah.
That's when I have a problem. You know what I mean? It's like,
totally.
You can believe what you believe and it's okay. You know what I mean? But there has to be a way to coexist and but I don't think it can happen because whether it's the Bible or the Quran or whatever, those books, if there's one thing that God was not an author of confusion about, it's about some pretty big issues that we face in life, like homosexuals or different things, and what we're supposed to do to those people, which I find appalling and completely wrong. And if you want to talk about morals, I find that completely immoral.
Yeah.
So I don't put weight in the Bible as a capital T truth in any way, shape, form, or fashion. From a historical perspective, it's great. It's a piece of literature that was written by many people who believe what they believe. It's a combination of beliefs that have been kind of mushed together into into a lot of contradicting thoughts that over the hundreds and thousands of years, we've sort of woven a narrative that, like I said, we started with a certain belief, so we can just weave that. Well, that doesn't mean that. Let's just push it into our belief system to this, or let's explain away things like slavery in the Bible or different things. Like, well, it's not the same kind of slavery. It was a different kind.
I know.
Those type of things that I'm not down with. So I won't subscribe to any religious belief, and I don't believe there's enough evidence for me to say that a God exists in any shape, form, or fashion.
Would you consider yourself an atheist, though?
I struggle with that question, and if I had to say, I probably would say at this point in my life, yes, I would say that, because isn't that the definition?
Atheism, not believing in God.
Atheism is absence of belief. It's not a belief system. It's just an absence of belief. Like, it just means I don't think there's enough evidence for me to put any type of faith or any type of weight into a God belief at this point. And it's funny, I'm sure we will get emails, because I have a lot of people that know me from LA Symphony days that have already taken issue with my belief system. Because I was very...
Have they talked to you, though?
That's the thing. So when I was exiting the church, I started being not very vocal about it, but a little bit here and there. And there was one person who I knew who was not really like friend, but I had done a number of shows as just cookbook at his church over the years, and he's the only one literally that reached out to me in a genuine, like, loving way to say, hey man, I heard that song and da-da-da. And he sent me a book and he was like, would you read this? And like, in a loving way, where I felt like this dude was being genuine. Everyone else either just backed away quietly, like, oh, we're scared of that, and didn't want to touch even and I wasn't even like saying I was an atheist or anything. I was just like, not really totally riding with a lot of this stuff. And one dude who was like outside of my friend group, just some guy I used to do shows with that I talked to once in a great while, asked me, hey, can we go to lunch? And just talk to me, and just wanted to hear from me. He didn't come down on me and try to say this. If anything, he did it right. He probably did it how, if there is a right way to do religion or Christianity or whatever, I think he did it. He was trying his best to just hear me out, be loving. And then he said, hey man, would you just read this book? And he gave me some book, and I read it. It was a long time ago.
Mm.
It didn't change my mind or anything, but I appreciated that. But most people shy away from it or talk shit. So another example was another dude. I did maybe 2 shows at his church, and they were taking issue with stuff I was doing before I even had any of these sort of proclamations publicly, which up until this podcast, or even Felipe's Garage podcast, it has been minimal. I've been respectful, like, hey, this privately, this is how I feel about things. But yeah, whatever. And then when it comes up, I speak on it. I'm not going to lie. But I'm not out there like, fuck this Christian shit, and I've never been that way. I just like, hey man, I don't ride with that stuff no more. It doesn't, But this one dude in particular, he literally, there's been people through the whole course of LA Symphony that have judged us because we are not Christian enough. We were never Christian enough. So we've all Christians. We never got hate like that from non-Christian people. They're just like, you're dope. I mean, you're a little too religious, too goody-goody because you're religious. But you guys are dope, cool, whatever. So they would be like, you guys are cool, but we don't really listen to you because we smoke weed and we do this and y'all don't really talk about that. It was more like that. Whereas the Christians were like, why aren't you saying Jesus? Why aren't you quoting Christian? Why aren't you doing that? Because we don't do that. That's not who we are.
Why aren't you saying Jesus?
So people already sort of had it out for us and had us under a microscope since the beginning. But especially when I started going solo and there was really less Jesus in the music, because now I'm just expressing my viewpoints now. And almost from the first album, I was still trying to cater to Christians, but I didn't have that belief. But I was also trying to like, well, that's my fan base too. So let me find a way to express myself that doesn't offend them. But that didn't work because they didn't care anyway. And they weren't fucking with me. And I've talked about this. So this part is not nothing new. But this guy in particular, he made it his mission to bash me as much as he could all over the internet and talk shit about my music. And he would try to present it in like he's being so, it's just this, just being objective. And, like he was acting like he didn't know me or he had never met me before, or like it wasn't personal. It was just a fan listening to music and judging me but it was really like a vendetta. You know what I mean? So those are the types of things I've faced. And then I've also gotten the messages from people that have been like, oh, you've just been hurt by church, or you just been this. So it's either hate on me or back away from me because they don't want to talk about it and it scares them to question anything. Or belittle it. Because if you can belittle what I'm feeling and boil it down to something, you can push it back into your belief system too. Oh, church hurt. Oh, he's just, whatever. Push it down instead of being like the one guy did. Well, you tell me. And then, okay, I heard you. Here's the book. And, he didn't hit me up again. He was like, all right, cool. I'm going to leave that alone, whatever. But I'm sure if I reached out to him, he'd be cool with me. But you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I because I've been so public, I've already gotten, from day one, I've gotten it when I was a Christian. I always have gotten hate from the Christian community for not doing it the way they think I should. My life, my music, etc. LA Symphony the whole time. We got it. Once we blew up, they were all on our jocks. I'm like, yeah, that's one of us. Look at what we are doing in the world, in the real clubs and stuff. Like, oh, now, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Getting a little more, but I think I deviated from the point. But I think your original question was about like the response I've gotten, right? About that's basically it. I mean, definitely plenty of. Mostly, I think it's the oh, you must have been hurt type.
Right. And I know like there's a verse that says, when a brother's been overtaken in sin, you who are spiritual go to that one and try to with words of grace win them back and this and that. And I feel like I've experienced not the same as you because I haven't been on that platform. Fortunate for me, a lot of my ministry and stuff like that was in Oklahoma and then in the Bay Area. So when I moved back down here, I got away from most of that, like most of my years of like being in it and ministering and cassette tapes being out there, traveling and all that type of stuff. So when I came back down to California and got involved in ministry and stuff like that, it was a little bit different. It was much more hardcore in the way of like grassroots real stuff, like really helping people, really hands-on, and it felt like the purest form of what we were trying to like get, when we were younger with Christianity and all that. But what's interesting is a lot of the people I was in school with that knew me as the Jesus dude, and we had the Bible club and all that, when they used to laugh and not be a part of it, all these years later, they got saved, the Christians. And some of them have been trying to check up on me and see what's going on. But nobody really asked directly, what happened to you? They all know I was hardcore, bro. But they're not even going. Some of them I feel like they see like, if this nigga was that hardcore back away, I don't even want to know what happened. Yeah, because it might kind of like, Well,
they don't want to. They don't want to question. It's almost like they think it's contagious,
right?
And maybe in some ways it is, because the same way somebody planted a seed in them that caused them to believe in that in the first place is the same way. I can see seeds that were planted in me, like a question years ago, like, wait a minute, and then it goes for a long time. Just keep. But I always remember that in the back of my mind, and then it springs up. So I think people backed away from me, hey, how are you doing? But back away because they don't want it's like comfort zone type stuff. It's like
Right.
I'm comfortable. I go to church, I tithe,
Totally.
whatever the case, I watch football.
Plus they don't see you and me as drugged out on the streets, lost our mind. You know, they don't get to see the results of not following God in the way that they can look at it.
Because it's not real.
This is what happens when
because that's not real. And that's where I take it. I mean, you yourself, when you were telling your story, you said how you kept talking about how I bounced and how easily I bounced and how you would look at my life and say, I'm not seeing all that stuff that I was taught would happen when you do something like this, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Neither was I. I went out and said, I'm doing much better. I was doing much better, and I still did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the whole thing about me saying, fuck it, it was just about me taking control, and I'm going to choose what to do. I mean, even the Bible teaches that. It says faith without works is dead. Okay, so if you don't just do it, then faith is dead. So technically, you can take the without works out of that sentence, and that's the truth. Faith is dead. Like just that belief of the guy in the sky with the beard, that shit's dead. Anything that people pray for, it's the same thing as like rolling the dice. It may or may not happen, and it's all based on what people do. People pray for healing and then go to the doctor, and the doctor does the surgery. They come out on the other side, it's a success, and then they give the glory to God. God healed him. No, they didn't. No, he didn't. He didn't heal him. Let's be honest. Let's be intellectually honest. God did not heal that person. I think faith, there is a part of faith, and regardless of what you put your faith in, if your belief is through the roof that something can happen, the chances of that thing happening definitely rise. It's not guaranteed, but definitely rise because you're going to act a different way. Your mind and your thoughts are going to be something different. That's when you can get into the universe and all that, how people believe about the universe, because that goes into the secret, the law of attraction and all of that. It's like, believe it, visualize it, see it, and it'll come to pass. Nothing is guaranteed without you doing it. You just doing it, or a human being doing something. There's no proof that there's no, there are unexplained things, definitely. But
there's a lot, bro. There's a lot.
It doesn't mean you can say that's God.
Yeah, I mean,
because there is many unexplained things that we call God, and then we found out, oh no, that's not God, that's the fucking sun. Oh no, that's not God, that's lightning and thunder. And we know what that is now. Or, oh no, that's not God. We started washing our hands and we stopped dying. Or we started cleaning food before we ate it. And we stopped dying. That's fucking science, not God.
We start washing our hands and we stop dying.
God, please don't kill us. And then we're eating the friggin' bacteria on our fucking hands, yo. Look what we have to do right now in COVID time. Wash our goddamn hands. That got nothing to do with God. You understand what I'm saying? God,
but see, this is why it's going to be so good when we have guests on here, because we can go around in circles on this because we've experienced both sides of it. We've been in the middle of all the healing, all the stuff, called it one thing. Then we come on the outside and go, but look at this. And we've also defended the faith. We're not even people that stood on the outside throwing stones at Christians and calling them nerds and shit.
Yeah.
We grew up in it and we defended it and saw people come from hardcore gangbanger into God. And then we've seen so much, dude. And now to be on this side, I'm excited to talk to some people that really feel like they have some points that can interject and maybe send us in a different direction. I'd love to hear that. I'd love to go back and forth with that because we'll go like this. Yeah,
you're Mulder, buddy. You're Mulder. I'm Scully.
I know, dude. I want to believe.
But I'm very skeptical because I just don't. So if we want to say State of the Union, I think that about sums it up. You're Mulder, I'm Scully.
100.
I need a plethora of proof at this point in my life because I live my life so long on anecdotal proof or on people's words or on experiences. I felt goosebumps, so it must be God. All of that to me, which is complete bullshit, and set me on a path where looking back, you know, I don't even blame God because I don't believe he's there. It's
okay.
me.
Okay, tell me this.
Choices.
Do you believe, okay, fuck the word God. Do you believe in some architects, some creators of some beings?
You're getting back to ancient aliens things.
Yes.
I would.
I
don't
simulation theory, all those different
just
possibilities.
I believe that anything is possible. Even the Christian God story in the Bible is possible because anything is possible technically.
Right.
But the difference is it probable? And is there any evidence to back up the claim, right? I mean, people believe there's something called, what do you call it? Hard solipsism or solipsism. You know what that is? It's like, I can't, like people say, if you're a hard solipsist, let me see if I get this right. I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing it right. If you're a hard solipsist, it's like, I can't even believe that you're real, Nesto. The only thing I can believe is that my own mind is real, and maybe my mind is making all of this up.
Yeah.
All of this is just my dream or my experience that my mind is making.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so people, I mean, there's endless possibilities, multiverse, this, whoop-de-whoop, on
Yeah.
And what it boils down to is I'm going to stay like this because we're probably going to have to wrap soon here. But what I would say is that I don't feel that there's enough evidence to warrant belief in a God, period.
Okay.
But I, as skeptical as I have become, I'm skeptical for good reason, and I want good reasons. And I've been seeking them, and I have yet to hear a good reason for me to believe in a God, especially a specific God, like a Christian God or Islamic God or Hindu or whatever.
Sure.
Now,
anyone
could come on and challenge, and I want that. That's part of what this podcast is about. And I'm sure there's people that are listening right now that are like, oh, let me get on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, it's not going to be no debate. We're just going to talk. But, you know, that I'm open to being challenged because I'm saying I don't know. I mean, there's no way I can be sure that, you know, billions of years ago or young earth creationists 10,000 years ago, God didn't mold and shape and then go, you know, now man came alive and there was one man and one woman, and that, whatever that story, which sounds like pure hogwash.
Or if it's the DNA splicing,
that's more plausible. Like, that's more plausible.
Yeah, but that it could be misinterpretation of translations. So, okay, this is what I'll say.
Yeah.
So you said what you believe. You don't believe God exists because you don't believe that there's enough evidence, right?
Right.
And so I do believe God exists. I believe that there was a Jesus. I believe, I mean, I can't explain any of this really. The Holy Spirit, it's like, I believe a lot of that, but what I believe is that we have been given the wrong information about it. I believe that there is a grand like mystery about God and that like the Trinity and all of that, that we as, you know, quote unquote believers or Christians didn't get the right story. And people have been off in so many different directions, and there's huge conflict of, you know, confusion because of the Crusades killing off the original Christians who for 300 years didn't have a Bible. There was no book. 300 years we're meeting from home to home, taking care of each other's needs and all that type of shit. A lot of that I absolutely believe. That's where I'm at. It's not shaping my life. There's nothing I'm doing to follow up on certain things because I'm in this like limbo area. Again, that's just this scripture that's on my arm. I'm just trying to walk in love people and be there and grow and learn and be open. That's my biggest thing. I'm trying to be open and not so dogmatic about shit, you know?
Yeah. No, and don't get me wrong. As skeptical as I may be coming off, I'm very open.
Yeah.
Like
I
I
know.
said, my intentions when I started questioning was to get rid of the questions and get back to the God belief, the faith, and back to my Christianity. And it just wasn't.
Right.
No, the more I
Yeah.
explored, the more getting rid of the beliefs was warranted and seemed more realistic to me. But it doesn't mean I'm closed off. Or that
Yeah.
I'm militant, like, yeah.
No,
I'm
I know.
not.
Yeah.
I'm not. Like,
Yeah.
I'm down to talk about, I'm down to consider whatever. Simulation, aliens, whatever the fuck. I'm down for it all. You know, we don't know. Maybe the fucking Mormons got it right. Maybe
No,
Scientology,
right.
bro. Maybe we got to get rid of our demons. You know, I really don't believe it, but, you know,
Yeah.
I'll let you tell me whatever you think is real. You know what I mean? And I'll have the questions. And if you don't have good answers, then fuck out of here with that. That's how I feel.
But
And
that's what I like too, is that we're open. We've got a lot of questions ourselves still. We're not even just like, nah, this is it. We got a lot of questions. So if people come with answers, I'm all about like, oh, let's explore that.
We can
Let's
explore
look at
that. In my experience, people will have answers,
that.
but just because you have an answer doesn't mean that it's the truth.
No, of course not.
That's
but I
the
mean, like coming with some kind of legitimate, you know what I'm saying? Not just
Right.
like, oh, I want to help these guys out. What about this? Not that. You know,
Yeah.
give us some solid
You
shit.
got to remember, Nesta, we're searching for what's really real.
It's really real.
What's
I know.
really real. Not like, hey,
Yeah.
it feels good to me to just believe this and keep it cool.
But see, then we have to see what would convince us. Because when you say what's real, I know, but what's that based on? That's something we got to look at, because there's a lot of things that people call truth that we find out was a lie in the government, in lot, you know. So it really does boil down to what bears witness with us, what seems to line up with the facts. You know, there's a lot to weigh.
Well, and that is what's difficult, especially in this age of misinformation, fake news, and all this type of shit that people talk about. There's definitely a lot to take in. If you go down any rabbit hole on any subject, and you're like, usually you come out on the other end either really hardcore one way or just like, I don't know what to believe. It's too much. It is blowing my mind right now. And that's what happens to me with conspiracies. I'm like, Jesus. And then I think, if this is true, let's kill ourselves now and get out of here, because But anyway, look, State of the Union. You are Mulder. I'm Scully. If you don't get that reference, it's X-Files, and I didn't even watch X-Files. You just told me that I'm Scully, and I believe you. I'm not skeptical on that. And what would it take for me to believe? Well, it's true that a show named X-Files got made. It's on TV. I can find it on demand when I want to watch it. It exists. So there's a trail of evidence that leads.
And you know what's so good, dude? Even if you
exists.
haven't seen the series, you could watch the one movie, the first movie that they did straight out the series, and you'd feel like, yeah, I am Scully. And I'm Mulder. I'm Mulder 100%. Because even at the end of it, even all that they go through, bro, it still has that kind of like, but, you know.
Yeah. Well, I hope we gave people information. At the very least, they heard some of our passion, some of our heart. Yeah. And maybe this will spark some conversation with people. They'll email us. Hearing me say, certain things may be shocking to people just because they know my LA Symphony past or whatever. I don't think too shocking, but please email me. You want to come check up on your Homeboy Cookbook? You want to see what's going on with your new Homeboy Nesto? Hit us up. Yeah. ReallyThoPodcast@gmail.com. I'm super down to hear what anybody has to say. Just be open to be challenged. The same way you might email and you want to challenge some of the things we say on the pod is the same way I personally, I can't speak for Nesto, but I think he might be that way. I am going to, if it doesn't ring true with me, or if I see some things that I know that I've learned about that contradict what you're saying, I'm going to challenge you. And we can go back and forth. You could email us again, go back into it. And maybe we'll never agree. We'll agree to disagree, but whether we agree or whether we don't, I know we as me and Nesto really appreciate you guys listening to the show and considering our viewpoints, considering maybe a viewpoint that's different than your own. Because that's what we're going to do. We're making that commitment to you guys. I may have a strong viewpoint a certain way, but I am committing myself to this podcast is to consider other viewpoints, to search for what's really real. And in searching, we have to consider everything. As wild and outlandish as something might be, I think we owe it to the people who are asking to listen to our viewpoints to consider. Doesn't mean we're going to believe it or put a lot of weight in it or not challenge it or maybe even, mock it a little bit if it's a really terrible idea. Like I said, I don't hate people. I don't put down people. I wouldn't make fun of people, but if I think it's bad ideas, I'm going to push back hard on bad ideas, but has nothing to do with people. It has to do with ideas.
Yeah.
If you believe that idea, then it'll be you choosing to take it personal. If you take it personal, it won't be aimed at you. Like if Nesta was 100% on fire for God Christian and I was the way I was, if this podcast is being true to what it is, I would challenge what he's saying to me, but that's my brother. You understand what I'm saying? So it wouldn't be about Nesta personally. It would be about we're challenging these beliefs that we have. You know what I mean?
Right.
We challenge our beliefs on whether or not certain Star Wars movies are good. We can downright argue about that. We can argue right now about how dope Thor Ragnarok is. We're angry, but we'll still be homies at the end of it.
Exactly.
We're treating this the same way. So when you talk to us, whether it's about Thor Ragnarok or about the actual God Thor, and you might believe in him,
all right,
we're going to challenge that, and it's all good. If you actually pray to the God of Thunder, please email us. We want to hear your story.
That might be a good religion.
If you believe in Thor and Odin and Loki as actual gods, please email us. Because I really want to hear your story.
Oh, God.
Anyway, I think from this point, we're going to start tackling specific subjects, whether like one whole episode's on faith or one whole episode's on what we feel about the Bible or certain specific topics. Miracles. I'm down to jump into it. Shit that we're going to have to study about, I think, to some degree, or brush up on stuff we used to know. All that, which I'm fine. Yeah. But from here, if you're emailing us and asking us questions, it may be your question will be the subject of one whole episode. If you ask us some question about God in general or something, it might cause us to, all right, it's time to deal with that. And that becomes a whole episode. So like I said, from here on out, and also I'm going to start reaching out to the people that I know that I've had in my brain that I think will be really great to bring on the podcast from all sides of the spectrum of beliefs. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Christian, atheist, ex-Christian, kind of halfway in. All these types of people that from different walks of life that I think we could all, you and me and people that listen to the podcast could benefit from hearing their story, their feelings, their viewpoints. So I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know who Nesta's going to reach out to or if he's going to reach out to anybody at all. Maybe he's just going to keep pushing join meeting and just talk shit with me. And maybe you are going to email and if we feel like, your question is big or your email's long or your points are super valid, we may just bring you on. That would be a decision between Nesta and I. With us. You don't got to be famous. You know what I mean? You don't got to lie to kick it. You just be you. Yeah. So anyway, ReallyThoPodcast @gmail.com. Nesta, you got any last words?
No, man. I mean, you summed it up really good. I think we're being as vulnerable as possible and for something that we don't have to do. We don't have to do this. Right. This is something that's kind of therapeutic for us. And for me, and I know for Cook too, it's kind of like if we reach one or two people that are like we used to be, it would feel so great, because when we were going through things, we didn't even have an talking possibilities, just the maybes, not even like dogmatically, no, they're lying to you, like not that wild shit, just like, have you considered this? I mean, look at these things that don't add up, and you're okay if you feel like that. Like we didn't have that. It was always like it was one or the other, cut and dry. And when things didn't mesh up, we weren't looking for them not to mesh up. That's not what we were searching for. And we were that was contrary to our beliefs. This is not where we're at right now, is not where we were seeking to be. And I personally don't
I'm
like
cool with it.
Like, I know. I wish I was back like 10
You
years
love
ago.
since a child, you love magic.
Yes.
Superpowers, and you want, and Christianity presents that, or religion and belief in God presents that.
Right, like Lord of the Rings. And I just didn't want things to be so practical, and bad men to be involved, and just, an orchestrated bad decision that leads people into bullshit. I don't like that. It's like, what?
Who does? I mean, I didn't like it, but to me, and we gotta wrap it up. But to me, it was more freeing to take life into my own hands and stop counting on the pie in the sky, or not doing certain things because I felt like I'm supposed to either wait or do it a certain way or do this. Fuck all that. Do it myself. I've been more successful. I have more success. I have my children, like my family, like I have all of these things that, not to say that couldn't happen in any religion or belief system, because it does. I'm saying for me, I feel great. But I'm still open, man. I'm still open to see what's up, man. Let's see what's good. All right, so let's get out of here, man. Okay. This is Really Though Podcast. We appreciate you guys. Really Though Podcast @gmail.com. Email us. Let us know what's up. Cop the t-shirts. Link is in the bio. Really Though Podcast, where we are what? Searching
for what's really real.
Real. Peace.
Really though.
The point cannot be explained in words.